All right, hey everybody. So we're going to do something a little bit different this week. I'm going to critique slash edit 10, 11 different photos. I'm going to do this very quickly, kind of go over photos that were given to me by a new photographer. Her name is Stephanie. Stephanie has sent me some beautiful photos here. Some are different versions of the same photo. We're just going to take a look at it, and I think she kind of wanted to know what I might do differently, or what looks good out of different photos. Which ones do I lean towards of the different versions? What draws my eye to them? That kind of stuff. So we're going to do that today. We're going to go over these photos. I'm going to do that in Lightroom, maybe some in Photoshop. I may do a little bit of editing to show how I might do it differently. So this might be good for you to learn how you might do your photos differently. One thing I would keep in mind is if you asked 5 different photographers about something, you'll probably get 5 different answers, right? A lot of it is opinion, a lot of it is taste. There are some guidelines and rules to follow, such as like rule of thirds, that kind of stuff. Some of these photos will probably go over that some. And of course, rules are made to be broken. We might go over when you might want to break some of these rules, right? So we'll kind of go over these things. Let's go ahead. We're going to do this very quickly. I'm going to go through each one. I'm going to go through them very, very quickly. Maybe as simple as I like this. I wouldn't do anything to it. Let's move on. It may be that simple. I haven't looked at them all yet. It's kind of my first time seeing some of these, so it'll kind of be my first reaction. Again, take what I say with a grain of salt. Let's jump in. Let's look at these photos and see what we would do differently. All right, so this is our first photo. Now, this is one that my mommy. This is one my mother has seen, and she actually loves this one to death. And I don't blame her. This is a beautiful scene. It's a very beautiful scene. It looks like it's around blue hour, and this is the actual the moon. So, what would I do differently about this photo? It is, to me, it's a beautiful photo. I think it's a really good shot, but I would do a few things differently. So, first thing I would do is I would probably change the crop on this photo. If you look up here at the top, you're going to see there's a lot of space up here. And if you look at the bottom here, there's a lot of space down here. So to me, that's kind of space that doesn't provide much to the photo. It's a lot of extra space, and it kind of distracts from the key features of the photo, right? It's empty space. It doesn't add to the picture. So first thing I would do is probably start cropping some. Let's see if 5x7 works better. Yeah, so to me, 5x7 probably looks a little bit better. Could do a 4:3. 4:3 is not bad. So I would just crop it a little bit differently. Now you'll notice I'm putting this lake, the bottom of this lake, I'm putting it on a rule of thirds. So this is a rule of thirds guideline, outline here. So I've got a line here, vertically and horizontally it's divided into thirds. The idea is usually you want to put your horizons or particular lines on your rule of thirds. The horizon is right there. You could do something like that, but I feel like the main attraction here is the sky, is the moon. I'd like to see more of that. So I'm going to use this bottom rule of thirds, and I'm going to put it on the lake there. And that kind of centers the mountain in the picture. So I like that crop the best. So I'm going to crop it there. So one of the things I've done, so I went ahead and cropped it. One thing I would do differently is I'd probably make the sky pop a little bit better. Now keep in mind that I'm editing JPEGs, so I don't have the raw files here that has all the data, so I can only edit it so far with the JPEGs. If I had the raw files, I could probably take things a lot more. I think one of the first things I would do is I would try to make the sky pop a little bit more. Select the sky, and I'm going to increase the clarity. The moon's blown out. That's okay. That's expected. I might increase the whites a little bit. So kind of a before and after. Before, after, before, after. So see how the sky kind of pops out. It's more defined. After, before, after. So I'd kind of just make that stick out a little more. If you're into this, and a lot of photographers aren't. They don't want to go this far, but I might consider removing whatever this line is here. I don't know if it's concrete or what it is, but I think the picture would be a lot prettier without that. And I would usually do that, and it depends on how complicated it is. This one I'd probably do it in Photoshop. So I'm going to go to Edit in Adobe Photoshop. It's going to ask me, do I want to edit with the Lightroom edits? Or I'm going to choose Edit. All right, so we're in Photoshop. I'm going to choose a Spot Healing Brush tool. Click on it. Going to make the brush a little bit wider. That's good right there. I'm just going to right over that right there. All right, so remove some of that. Just going to brush that out. I'm going to do a little bit of that in here too. I'm going to do this in a very quick, sloppy way. Again, we have a lot of photos to go over, so just going to bring that out a little bit. All right, that's all I'm going to do. I'm going to go over here and save it by clicking the X to close Photoshop. Do I want to save it? Yes, I will. It's going to take that photo. It's going to put it into Lightroom as a separate photo. All right, so it's now in the Lightroom as a separate photo, and I think that's probably all I would do as far as main changes to this photo. Is I'd crop it, I'd make the sky pop a little bit more, and I'd remove a little bit of distractions, things I don't think add to the photo. How far you remove something? That's kind of, that's I usually don't remove a lot. Power lines, little things like that I might remove. Trashy things around the edges I might remove. Removing stuff like whole trees or people, stuff like that, I usually won't do that. All right, so let's do a little before after real quick, and we'll move to the next photo. All right, so here's the photo before and after. On the right side, I have the before. On the left side, I have the after. Small changes, I think it makes a good difference. I think it makes it pop more. And kind of remove distractions. All right, let's move to the next one. In this photo, this is one of my favorites. I absolutely love this photo. Love this photo. I don't think I would change much at all. The sky isn't blown out. I don't think the clouds would look much better if you decrease the highlights. Maybe the clouds look a little better if you decrease the highlights. But for the most part, I love this photo. I love that it looks a painterly look. This water, I kind of follow it through the middle here. It's kind of misty look in the background. It looks like a painting. I actually love this photo. One thing I would change to make it a little bit better is I wonder. There's one thing I'd for sure change to make it a little bit better. Is if you want, when you take a photo, you want to look around your edges, right? You want to clean your edges up. Is there things just kind of poking in your edges that don't add to the picture, that actually takes away from the picture? If you look down towards the bottom here, I think there is, right? I think these bushes around the edge here don't add much to the picture, and they're actually a distraction. If you look at the bush on the right side, and see how there's a lot of that. That doesn't bother me at all. That actually, if there was more bush around the bottom, I'd kind of like the picture more because it'd be framing the picture, right? But when you have just a little bit of bushes here just sticking in, that's a distraction. That takes away from the photo. So I think the only thing I would change here is probably would remove that. Let's see if we can do that in Lightroom. So let's remove that. I'm going to use the content aware portion of Lightroom. Let's make this a little bit smaller. Here we go. Let's get rid of that. Not too bad. Lightroom is doing a good job this time. Probably get rid of a little bit in here. Get rid of that. Not too bad. Photoshop would do a much better job. I could probably do a better job too of it if I took more time. That's not too bad. Let's go with that. Let's see how that looks. Yeah. So just removed a little bit of the distractions towards the edge there. Just, basic editing concept, clean your edges. Get rid of those distractions. All in all, I don't think I would change anything else. That's the main thing I for sure would change. The space up here. There's a lot of space up here in the sky. And I'm not sure the tip of this tree adds much. I would crop it some. You do have this bank in the middle of the picture, which is okay. Usually you want your horizon or you want your lines in the picture to be on a rule of thirds. Like for example, I can take this down. Instead of putting my horizon on a rule of thirds, I can put the top of those trees on a rule of thirds. It still keeps my bank in the middle. It puts these line of poles on the rule of thirds. And I cropped out a little bit of the tree here and a lot of the sky, right? I can move that over a little bit to where that big tree is on the rule of thirds. That kind of puts this little scene almost in the middle here. So poles on the rule of thirds, top of the trees on the rule of thirds, this tree's in a rule of thirds. This main scene is almost centered in the middle. Not quite, almost. Let's see how that looks. So I think I like that better. I think I like that better. Let's see. Before, after, before, after. I think I like that a little bit better. That's a big if on that. That's very much up to taste. Cleaning your edges, that's a standard practice. Definitely should do that. All right, next picture. This picture, wow. I love this picture. I thought my favorite at first was the picture we just got away from. This one, after seeing it earlier, I really just fell in love with this picture. The bushes are great. I don't think there's enough of them that it's not a distraction. So there's nothing to clean around the edges. It's fine. It actually kind of balances the picture out. You have like one half of this bottom part with the bushes, and you have the other half with the beautiful water. I don't know that I would change much here at all. This is just a beautiful picture. I wonder. If a little bit of cropping, put this kind of in the center more, get rid of the sky a little bit. I'm not sure you need all of that sky up there. I'm not sure you need all of this sky up there. I think I would like that a little better. Let's see. So before, after, just a small change. Before, after, again, that's small. I like the crop a little bit better. Before, yeah, a little bit of extra sky up there is too much, I think. After, now that's nitpicking. All in all, this picture, love it, beautiful. This is like, it looks like a photograph. I mean, this looks like a painting to me. Just a beautiful picture. Moving on. Now we have two photos here. Let's pick one. Which one do we like better? We have this one. Looks like she has a tree more on the left side here. Let's go back to the other one. Looks like there's more sky in this one. The tree is more towards the middle. Which one do we like better? There's more of the fence in here, right? On this one. I really don't like more of this fence and stuff in here. I'm going to say let's go with the first one. The first one has too much sky up here. I think it's a little too much. I don't know. I think in camera I would have tried to take this picture a little bit differently. Maybe I would have got the camera a little bit higher to try to get rid of this in the foreground. If there was a way to raise the camera up, or it's probably not. I don't know. But if I could have got rid of this in the foreground, this down here, I would have. I think the main picture is this right here, right? This tree, this area in here, this house. The house is, and this tree being your main subject. I think I would have done something like that. And we could still play around with it. It's a pretty picture. I just don't like the foreground. I think we could play around with it a little bit, change it up some. That might be a better picture. Let's see. I think that would make a better picture. It would be nicer if this house was on a rule of thirds, line of thirds. I think we're going to get into cropping it too much, and we're losing some of the mountain, which is very beautiful. Yeah, maybe not. That's not bad. I kind of like that. That's kind of puts the house more towards the line of rule of third there. That's not too bad. It gets rid of the bottom part here. Of course, I would have rather done that in camera, not after the fact. Makes a nice little postcard look. You still got the fog and the mountains and trees back here. The mist, rather. Fog, I guess. I think I would go with a crop like that. Preferably, I would probably do it in camera, not after the fact, unless you have a high megapixel camera. The downside to this crop is, of course, you got the things in the foreground, and you have the distraction down here at the bottom, which is not too bad. I actually like that better. I have a feeling she really loves these mountains back here, and probably is going to disagree with me on this one. And maybe that, I don't, the reason I like this better is because to me, the subject is the house in the snowy background. And I like to put it on kind of a rule of thirds there. It makes it more of a subject, you know. If I could raise it up, well, that might work. Let's see. No, see, I get the fence line in there. You'd have to do that in camera. Put it right there on the rule of third. Makes it a little bit bigger. I think I like that better. I'm betting she'll probably disagree with me on that one. What are your thoughts? So, what are your thoughts? Closer up, or do you like something like this? A little bit more of the picture. And that's not too bad. Or do you like the original, the whole scene? How would you crop it? Let me know. Leave a comment below. All right, I'm going to move on to the next one. Now here we have a beautiful creek in the mountains. And looks like the camera was raised up a little bit in this one, or it's pointing more down in this one. I'm not sure I like the more rocks here on the edge. I feel like it's too much. I think I kind of lean towards this picture more. That said, I don't think this up here at the top adds much to it either. This right here. So I'd probably crop it a little bit. It's hard to say, but I think the one big thing I would change, and you can only do this when you're taking the photo, is it's really iffy. Depends on the situation. So to me, I want to see the water more. The water is almost too sparkly. I can't see the color of the water. I see white. I see a lot of white, right? And sometimes that can add to the photo. A shimmering white line going through the photo, kind of accenting other pieces of the photo or pointing to something in the photo, right? Here, a lot of this photo is the water itself. So is the water this bright the best? Is it the prettiest? My feeling is it probably could have been done better if you use a circular polarizer. So if you use a circular polarizer on your camera, and if the sunlight is coming from the right direction, if the sunlight is coming straight on, it won't work. But if the sunlight is coming from kind of an angle from the side, you can put a circular polarizer on your lens. And if you're a landscape photographer, number one filter you should have for your lenses, circular polarizer. If you don't have it, if you're going to do landscape photography, get it. Definitely get you a good $100 circular polarizer. There's so many things you can do with it. It will make your colors pop more. It will allow you to get the shimmering, the shiny stuff, and make you actually see the water more. For example, if I'm taking a picture of a lake, instead of me seeing shininess on the lake, I can use a circular polarizer, and I can actually see the rocks under the water in the lake, right, like the creek or something. So circular polarizer will remove that glare, and you can actually see the water. So I don't know in this circumstance whether it would have helped, but I definitely would have tried having a circular polarizer here and trying to get rid of the shimmering of the water. I'd like to actually see the color, the true color of the water, maybe see a little bit of what's underneath the water, right? So I think that's I'm not a big fan of this photo. I hope you don't mind me saying so, Steph. Please don't hate me for saying that. Yeah, I just think the shininess of the water is too much. But if I were going to keep this photo, the things I would do, I would choose this one over the other one because there's less rocks. I would probably crop out the top of this a little bit, something like that, right? That didn't add too much to the top there. I'd probably add a little bit more contrast. I wouldn't increase the whites too much, especially on the water being so shiny. I'm going to grab a linear gradient, and I'm going to drop it down to right there. And I'm going to increase the whites on there. Maybe increase the contrast some. This is before. This is after. Before. After. Before. After. Just kind of make that brighten up a little bit, more lively. Before. After. A lot of these pictures too, you want to play around some with like a vignette, right? Would a vignette add much to it? I probably wouldn't put one that heavily, but would that add much to it? Before, after, it's okay. The vignette's iffy. But again, I think if I were going to take this picture, I would do it with the circular polarizer, try to get rid of the glare. I think the less rocks is better, less of the portion up here is better, and I'd make I'd try to bring the color and these trees out, and make this pop more. I did that with the linear gradient and increase my whites. So increasing your whites will usually make things pop more. Adding contrast will usually make things pop more. One secret you can also do, a lot of people will do, if you go down and play with this right here, your calibration, if you go down to your blues, click on your blues and increase the saturation. Watch these leaves when I do that. There's before. And there's after. Before. After. You see how it made it pop? Now, that's a little bit too much. I wouldn't do it that much. But I'm just trying to give you an idea of how playing around with this calibration can make those colors pop more. All right, hey, so that's it for this week's editing session. We're going to have another session next week. We're going to finish going over Stephanie's beautiful photos. Stephanie, thank you for sending the photos. I think they're very beautiful. Take what I say with a grain of salt. A lot of this is, of course, just opinions. But thanks for sending them to me, and hopefully it was somewhat helpful to you. And hopefully it was helpful to others out there also. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to click like. Let's get the video out. It helps get the video out to others. And be sure to click subscribe. We're going to go over more photos next week. We're going to have another editing video. Be sure to check that out. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you again next time.